It's good to have your company this morning. So what do you really think of the Reserve Bank, huh? I can hear you shouting at the telly. Troy from Perth says they may get inflation under control, but we will have millions homeless if they keep going. Zach says they should be fired. Well, I tend to agree, Zach. Could they be any colder in their treatment of hardworking Australians? Remember, they didn't predict any of this. And what about our banks this morning? Our kind-hearted, community-focused banks. You know, you've all seen the ads. We care about you. We see you. Come bank with us. Your life is a whole lot better with us. We get you. But how much do they really care? Do you remember during the pandemic when we had rate cuts? And this will shock you. The banks seldom passed it on. And now they're like greedy moths to the flame, eating away at your savings, eating into your standard of living, eating into your future. Well, I reckon this morning they should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. They are passing on the rate hikes which are decimating family budgets, decimating them. The opposition, through all of this, has finally found its voice with one single slogan, and you're going to be hearing a whole lot more of it.
People will always pay more for their mortgages under Labor.
Yep. Yeah.
Just once more? Can we have that just once more?
People will always pay more for their mortgages under Labor.
Yep. Yeah.
And just one more for the road.
People will always pay more for their mortgages under Labor.
Yep. Yeah.
It's vaguely annoying, I know, but it will be effective. Joining us to discuss, Queensland Senator Matt Canavan and Editor-in-Chief of Stellar, Sarah Lamarquand. Nice to see you guys.
Good morning.
OK, Matt Canavan, you're first up this morning. You asked previously for the Reserve Bank to be sacked. You're sticking to it?
Well, I do think they should go, Karl. They should go, though, not so much for the decision yesterday, but for their failures years ago. As you said, they didn't predict this. In fact, they told people that they could go and borrow and rates wouldn't go up till 2024. And, of course, we've now had 9 rate increases over the past year. Unfortunately, we are where we are. Inflation is at 7.8%. Government spending out of control under this Labor government.
But you didn't help.
To act.
You didn't help either at the start of it all. You spent like drunken sailors.
Yeah, we are in some respects we're paying for the sins of COVID spending now too, Karl. No doubt about that. But we've got to focus now. And the milk's been spilt. We've got to focus on what do we do now. And I'm not going to sit here and just hold the hands of the Australian people like Jim Chalmers seems to want to do. We have to make tough choices too here in Canberra. And the only way we can help here in Canberra, what we can do as your representatives is to get government spending under control, because the more we spend, and Labor always does, they always open the spigots and spend, that's why the RBA is worried, the more we can get that under control, the less pressures on the RBA to raise rates and increase the pain in the households. OK,
that catchphrase will be effective and it will sting what has been a pretty long honeymoon for this government. But at the end of the day, it's families who are now paying $1,500 more a month in terms of their mortgage. They've got to find it from somewhere. The wages aren't going up. There are going to be families who are looking at this now going, what are we going to do?
Absolutely, and you can feel that desperation, and it has been growing. I think it is a clever line from Peter Dutton. I think he's been waiting a long time for this. When he was made opposition leader, you had the feeling that his moment needed to come, and he is clearly playing from the John Howard rulebook. He's a student of political history. We all recall back when interest rates were a real problem, John Howard was very effective. It's how he stayed in office for successive terms. Was by capitalising on that fear and by saying, trust my party, the Liberal Party, with economic management. Peter Dutton knows the time has come again 20 years later for that message. I agree that it really has put the Prime Minister on notice, and they have to tell Australians that they have solutions. I agree also, Karl, with your comments. I think the banks are acting in a really unconscionable way here. As you said, they're very quick to pass on interest rate hikes, but we never see the cuts passed on. I think the banks have a real role to play.
There's just such BS from our banks. Their advertising campaigns, they're community focused. They say, oh, we're doing everything for you at home. Be part of the new world order, effectively, community order. We're giving back to the community. And then, Matt, just bang, bang, bang. But this happens all the time.
I can't stand all of those ads that have this sort of faux that we're somehow they're our friends and they want to care for us. Of course they don't. Again, I've woken up with a hard dose of reality this morning, Karl. The reality is the banks are businesses and they're going to pass these rates on. And every time you hear a politician here in Canberra complain about the banks, what they're really doing is trying to distract attention from their own responsibility. We have a responsibility here, and so we shouldn't have the same error as the banks and try and say, oh, we just want to hold your hand. We want to feel your pain. What we need to do is act. Ali said, as Sarah said, we need to act. We need to have solutions here for the Australian people, and that's up to the government here now to come forward in this budget, do a proper budget, and get our spending under control. Get the red tape off our economy so we can get inflation down.
And look, I think successive governments also have a tendency to treat us like mugs. We know when we're spending more. We know, and we'll cop it from the government perspective, like we did with the GST, if we think it's for the better of the country.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we saw that during COVID. I think people understood that it was a time where there was a lot of money getting splashed around, but now is the time to be frugal because we're literally relying on our government to be responsible.
We get it. Just one more for the road.
People always pay more for their mortgages under Labor.
Yep.
Hey there, Today fans. Sarah and...
What's my name again?
Oh my God, Karl.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel, though. Subscribe now for more news, special reports, and amazing Aussie stories.
And Karl misbehaving,
Whoa,
of course.
that never happens.
Always happens.
What's she talking about?
Always happens.